Kantai Collection, abbreviated as KANG, is a Japanese free-to-play online card game developed by Kadokawa Games. The game was launched on April 23, 2013. As of May 2014, the game is available in Japan only and has 2 million registered players. The game has developed into a much larger media franchise. Various media including multiple manga series and light novels have been released, in addition to an officially licensed tabletop role-playing game. A television anime series and PlayStation Vita game have been announced. Gameplay. The gameplay is centered upon a mobbage-like card battle game, with individual characters represented by various cards with different attributes. Each of the characters are anthropomorphisms of World War II naval warships which are depicted as cute girls, known as fleet girls. These personified warships are based on real-life vessels which are explained in detail within the game. The physical characteristics, appearances and personalities of each of the girls correlate in some way to the real-life vessel. The player takes on the role of an admiral and organizes their fleets in battle in order to win. Combat is largely automated, and manual actions by the player include micromanagement such as building and repairing. The player can organize up to 4 different fleets. The player progresses through the game by advancing through maps, gaining experience points through grinding, obtaining new fleet girls whilst repairing and resupplying existing ones, and fulfilling quests to obtain resources. New equipment can be crafted, allowing the fleet girls to equip different armaments depending on the situation. Acquisition of new Kanryusu by the player can occur via drops on map or via crafting, and is heavily RNG-based. Randomization is also a key component of the battle mechanism, map progression and equipment development. Construction, resupply and repair of ships is reliant upon 4 types of resources, namely fuel, ammunition, steel and bauxite. These supplies will gradually increase automatically as time passes. Players can choose to engage in expeditions, sorties and quests to further increase their supplies as well. Ships can be customized through the addition of various equipment within their empty slots, which add attribute bonuses and even provide special effects in some cases. Such equipment include naval guns, anti-aircraft guns, torpedoes, torpedo bombers, dive bombers, fighter aircraft, seaplanes, recon planes, radars, steam turbines, special artillery shells, depth charges, sonars, drum canisters, searchlights and anti-torpedo bulges. The effectiveness of ships in combat depend on its attribute parameters, namely height points, armor, evasion, aircraft capacity, speed, attack range, firepower, torpedo, anti-air, anti-submarine, line of sight, and luck. Kanryusu are capable of becoming stronger as they gain experience and level up after battles, and can also be remodeled into more advanced models once they reach a certain level. Unwanted Kanryusu can also be fed to other Kanryusu through a process known as modernization, which grants attribute bonuses to one ship in exchange for losing another. Ships can become fatigued once it accumulates after sorties. Fatigued ships have decreased attributes, whilst sparkling ships have increased attributes. Fatigue can be alleviated by allowing ships some time to rest, or by recovering the fleet's morale using Japanese food supply ship Mamiya. As ships become damaged, their icons begin to blow off smoke and their clothing become visually torn and battered. In the event when a ship's durability drops down to 0, it is considered sunk, and the player will lose the fleet girl. Players cannot resurrect fleet girls that have been lost unless they are in possession of an emergency repair item, and are only able to retrain ships that have been lost from scratch. Whilst the game is free to play, special premium bonuses can be obtained through prepaid game money and credit card micropayments, such as repaired dock expansions, home shipyard furniture tokens, ship possession limit increases and special consumable items. Although each ship in the game has an experience level cap of LV99, the player is able to obtain the marriage papers and ring item with a monetary purchase priced at 700 yen or via a one-time special quest, which allows the player to marry the girl, thereby breaking the original level cap and allowing a new maximum of LV150, in addition to other perks such as stat boosts and decreased operating costs. This process can be repeated as many times as the player wishes, and there is no limit to the number of girls that can be married. Players can choose to battle against the fleets of other real-life players on the same game server via the Exercise Maneuvers menu. Players are also able to compete with each other's scores via in-game ranking boards, with periodical prizes for top-ranking players. As of June 2014, there are 18 servers that can be played on, each named after a World War II-era Japanese naval base. The game is currently intended to be played by a Japanese domestic audience only, with the interface exclusively in the Japanese language. As of present, the game cannot be played outside of Japan without the use of a VPN. Utilization of such methods to circumvent country IP restrictions and access the game breach the DMM.com online game terms of use, however. From August 2013 onwards, new player registrations are only available via periodic lottery, due to the servers being overloaded by large numbers of new registrants. Ship types: battleship, have strong power and defense, whilst requiring large quantities of resources. A battleship on either side grants a second attack turn for both the player and enemy fleets. Aircraft carrier, allows for preemptive aerial strikes before battles. Have long repair times, are expensive to maintain, and the planes require bauxite. Cannot attack at night. Light aircraft carrier, have better fuel consumption than standard aircraft carriers and are able to damage submarines, however have lighter armor. Cannot attack at night. Armored aircraft carrier, capable of combat operations even with medium damage. Seaplane carrier, high enemy formation detection stats. Largely weak. Can be equipped with midget submarines and seaplanes, and can attack submarines. Can also be remodeled into light aircraft carriers. Heavy cruiser, able to deal significant damage, and are fuel efficient. Have decent overall stats, however does not excel in any particular areas. Light cruiser, strong anti-submarine type, effective during night combat. Have low endurance, and serve as a support role. Though slightly stronger than destroyers, firepower and armor is still limited. Cheap to maintain. Destroyer, good for night battles and anti-submarine warfare, in addition to being cheap to maintain with their good fuel and repair rate. Boasts a high evasion rate, however also have low armor and firepower. Torpedo cruiser, remodeled from certain light cruisers. Capable of deploying midget submarines, allowing a preemptive torpedo strike. Submarine, have low health and limited damage output from its torpedo attacks, however use very small amounts of resources, and can only be attacked by certain ship types. Have a high evasion rate, however are weak against ships equipped with depth charges or sonar. Capable of attacking preemptively. Submarine aircraft carrier, capable of carrying seaplanes. Aviation battleship, remodeled from certain battleships. Deals less firepower than standard battleships, however can equip seaplane bombers which are able to attack submarines. Aviation cruiser, remodeled from certain heavy cruisers. Can equip seaplane bombers which are able to attack submarines. Amphibious warfare ship, largely useless during combat. Autogyros play an anti-submarine role, whilst equipped landing crafts add a resource bonus to expeditions. Repair ship, when placed within a fleet, gradually repair other ships within the fleet over time, similar to a repair dock. It is planned for coastal defense ships to be eventually added to the game in future. The developers anticipate that these ships will play an anti-submarine role, and will feature a more cute and childish character design, reason being that coastal defense ships are smaller in size compared to destroyers. Fleet girls, upon the debut of the game, there were a total of 94 different fleet girls available. Within an update introduced May 15 for Euro 17, 2013, additional fleet girls were added. On September 11, 2013 the first non-Japanese vessel, Soviet destroyer Venyi, was introduced into the game. There were plans during the early stages to eventually bring additional ships from other countries, and in March 2014, 3 German Kriegsmarine vessels were added. Presently there are 135 original girls in addition to 45 upgraded variants, bringing the total number of Fleet Girls to 180. The game currently holds spaces for 200 different types of Fleet Girls. Different Fleet Girls are illustrated by different artists. Artists involved in the drawing of various characters include Shibe Fu, Shizuma Yoshinori, Konishi, Karakero, Mikoto Akemi and 9 other artists. Fumikan Shimada, who was previously the lead character designer for Strike Witches and Girls on Panzer, created the designs and illustrations for Japanese armored aircraft carrier Teiha and the 3 German vessels. The traits of each Fleet Girl are based on aspects of the historical ship they are based on. For instance, Japanese battleship Konga frequently adds English words and phrases into her dialogue as a reference to her British origins, whilst Japanese aircraft carrier Akagi is depicted as a glutton and Japanese destroyer Shimikase is depicted as a speedy girl in artworks and official print media, since the Akagi consumed large amounts of fuel and the Shimikase was one of the fastest destroyer ships of World War II. Characters which share particular links also have similar physical traits. Ships of the same class may have similar accessories or clothing, whilst all submarines are depicted as wearing tsukumiza. Voice actors have been employed to voice the Fleet Girls, with anywhere around 10 Fleet Girls being voiced by one actor. The complete list of voice actors involved has not yet been published. Voice actors, development. Prior to Kantai Collection, the majority of games published by DMM.com were R18+ adult online games. In an effort to attract customers from a wider audience, DMM.com experimented with Kantai Collection in partnership with Kadokawa Games. By November 2013, Kantai Collection accounted for 30 to 40% of DMM.com's total online game business. Media, print media. A bi-monthly online web manga by Momoi Ryata began serialization from April 23, 2013 in the Famitsu Comic Clear. The manga follows a 4-koma format, and features a storyline with the Fleet Girls enrolled in schools, where senior girls teach battle techniques to their juniors. Momoi Ryata's 4-koma manga will be released in print book format under the title Kangal, Fubiki, Gambara Mesu. Beginning from December 14, 2013. Famitsu Comic Clear has introduced an additional manga adaptation by Shotaro Harada under the title Naval Base Communications a Euro. The Famitsu website also hosts a webcomic by Mizutaki which focuses on gameplay aspects of Kantai Collection. In addition, another manga series by Sasayuki featuring the title Kangalside, Konga was serialized in Comtique from December 2013 onwards, with a story based on the adventures of battleship Konga. A manga illustrated by Sakai Sato titled Kangal, Someday as the Seas Turn Calm began serialization in Monthly Comic Alive on November 27, 2013, with a focus on an original story revolving around Tenya and Tatsuta. A manga titled Kangal, Torpedo Squadron Chronicles and illustrated by Yasuhiro Miyama began serialization in the November 2013 issue of Comp Ace, with the plot focusing on the Akatsuki sisters. Age Premium will feature a manga publication by Nornoroku titled Kangal, Nanadisu starting from January 2014, with Inazuma as the main character. A manga series titled Kangal, Shimikaze Whirlwind Girl by Yamazaki Kazuma is planned to begin serialization within the Denjikimo magazine in February 2014. A manga series by Hiroiki titled Kangal, The Perched Naval Base will begin serialization in the July 2014 issue of Denjiki Dero, and will focus on a storyline revolving around the heavy cruisers Kumano and Shiozuya. Kadokawa has also announced a manga series titled Kantai Collection Black Order, created by Oito Taguchi who was previously responsible for the Mobile Suit Gundam OO manga. A light novel based on the game has been announced under the title Kangal, Kagera, Setting Sail. Written by Tsukiji Toshihiko and illustrated by NOCO. It was released on November 30, 2013. A short story series featuring aircraft carriers Wikaku and Shakaku written by Hiroki Uchida and illustrated by Mataro, titled Kangal, Bonds of the Wings of Cranes, will begin serialization within the January 2014 issue of Dragon magazine. a novel project featuring aircraft carriers Kaga and Akagi involving the illustrator Kareri and the authors Sayadaku, Kazuyuki Takami and Back Again has been announced, with the title Kantai, A Day at a Certain Naval Base. Comtique, Dunjiki Comics, DNA Comics and Famitsu Comic Clear have also published numerous series of comic compilation books which each contain a collection of various one-shot manga. Publications, Kangai, a PlayStation Vita game titled Kangai was announced during Kadokawa Games' 2013 Autumn Media Briefing, and is due for a 2014 release. The game will be the second title independently created by Kadokawa Game Studio, after Natural Doctrine. In March 2014, financial analyst Fukuda Ikira of Citigroup Global Markets Japan made the prediction in a stock investor report that the PS Vita game would ship 500,000 copies, and expects that a profit of 1 billion yen be made. He also cites the ability to charge players for in-game premium items on the PS Vita platform as an upside for Kadokawa Corporation business-wise. Tabletop RPG, an official Kangai tabletop RPG has been developed. The introductory rule book for the game was published by Kadokawa and Fujimi Shobo, and released on March 18, 2014. Anime, a television anime series has been announced, scheduled to air in January 2015. The series will be animated by Diomede copywriter, and will feature Fubiki as the main character, with the storyline based on her point of view. It will be directed by Kizo Kizukawa, and the script will be written by Juki Hanada. The anime series is planned to feature the voice cast from the original game. Music, an original game soundtrack has been announced for a Q3 2014 release. Drama CD, limited edition versions of the Side, Konga and Torpedo Squadron Chronicles manga series Tankobon were bundled with drama CDs featuring original dialogue stories from the characters' original voice actors, titled Hi Makes Curry, and Akatsuki's Dream. Plot: whilst the original game does not have a particular storyline, and largely focuses on gameplay, each of the official media works feature various settings with separate and differing canons. Not only do the stories differ, but also the depictions and interpretations of Fleet Girls and the manner in which they engage in combat. The game does not strictly define anything relating to its setting, allowing for a greater diversity of secondary literary adaptation works which cater to different audiences. Kangai, Bonds of the Wings of Cranes. Within the story of Bonds of the Wings of Cranes, the setting is within an alternate universe where World War II never took place. The Fleet of the Abyss, consisting of monster ships, lock down access to the seas and indiscriminately fire upon vessels and aircraft, and feed on the corpses of dead sailors in the water. Ship Girls are the guardians of humanity and human weapon hybrids that are summoned using spirit energy, with female forms as the ships they represent have female souls. Suikoku, having taken a humanoid form, remembers a time where she was once a ship, however does not know the reason behind her human form. The Fleet Girls live within an old-fashioned Japanese-style hotel which doubles as the girls' dormitory, and is close to a nearby factory which services combat equipment. The admiral of the fleet is a young man who behaves like a pervert, fond of groping the ship girls and playing with their skirts, although his personality does become serious when commanding the fleet. As the ship girls and abyssal fleets engage in combat, both sides are guarded by a protective barrier. The aircraft carriers Akagi and Kaga are depicted as firing archery arrows from a bow which then transform into fighter planes. Armaments are detachable equipment, and when not in combat gear the ships otherwise appear as ordinary girls. Kangai, Kadera, Setting Sail. This light novel is set within a universe based on the real world, where normal girls undergo training to become ship girls. Kangai, Someday as the Seas Turn Calm. This manga adaptation focuses on the adventures of the Tengia Torpedo Squadron as they engage in search and destroy patrols and respond to distress calls. Within this manga, ship girls are depicted as flying on the water surface whilst in combat against the Abyss fleet of monster ships, and launch aircraft managed by tiny fairies in a conventional takeoff manner from their body attachments. Artillery and torpedo combat is shown to be performed at long range, whilst anti-submarine warfare takes place in close quarters. Kangai, Shimike's Whirlwind Girl. This manga depicts the story of a newly appointed, rookie officer by the name of Ensign Akai who arrives at the Miyazuru Naval Base for duty as the assistant to the Vice Admiral, however has to deal with a stubborn and difficult Shimike's who spends most of her time alone, and does not have any friends. Kankle, Fubiki, Gambara Mesu. This slice of life for Koma depicts the everyday life of the ship girls at the Fleet Training School, where newly manufactured ship girls spend 1 year learning knowledge before setting out to sea. Most of the scenarios are taken from the point of view of Fubiki, and feature the girls doing fun things with one another, which include attending school, drinking tea, celebrating various holidays like Tanabata, Halloween and Christmas, in addition to the occasional sortie. The ship girls retain memories of their previous lives from World War II, at times displaying signs of post-traumatic stress disorder. References to their personal histories and characteristics are common and usually used to comedic effect. This manga depicts the ship girls as being able to walk on the surface of the water in a manner akin to ice skating. Merchandise and other collaborations. Merchandise based on the game have been launched as a result of the success of the online game, proliferation of derivative works, and strong interest in the franchise. PVC figurines have been announced, including Nendoroid and Figma figurines of both Shimike's and Akagi, in addition to a 1/7 scale PVC display figurine of a severely damaged Konga designed and manufactured by Max Factory. There have also been reports of Kadokawa filing trademarks for Kankle-themed arcade systems. A trading card game based on the online game released on March 28, 2014 reportedly sold 1.7 million packets within its first shipment. In September 2013, a collaborative project between Kantai Collection and the Arpeggio of Blue Steel anime was announced. Illustrators for Kantai Collection are responsible for drawing some of the anime end cards for Arpeggio of Blue Steel, which feature crossovers with Kantai Collection characters. An Arpeggio of Blue Steel in-game special event for Kantai Collection also took place from December 24, 2013 to January 8, 2014. Reception, player population. Due to the high popularity of the game within Japan, game operators have created larger numbers of servers within early 2013 to account for the influx of players. During August 2013, the number of new players spiked by 100,000 people within 1 week, to a total of 600,000 people, with 350,000 daily active players. By September 2013, it was reported that there were more than 800,000 players that were regularly active. The total number of players broke past 1 million on October 9, 2013. As of May 2014, there are 2 million players. One commonly cited explanation behind the success of the game is that players aren't forced to spend money to play unlike other popular Japanese online games. The free-to-play nature of Kantai Collection makes in-game purchases optional, and not a necessity. It is estimated that on average, Kantai Collection players spend less money on the game compared to the popular Japanese games Puzzle & Dragons, The Idolmaster, Cinderella Girls and Love Live! School Idol Festival. Various unintended consequences have arisen domestically as a result of this significantly large player base, such as its disproportional influence over the technological sector in Japan. According to a report by research firm BCN, the market share of Microsoft Windows tablets in Japan suddenly rose to 15% during the calendar year of 2013, a five-fold increase over the previous year, and that no such trend is occurring anywhere else outside Japan. This rise is partially attributed to the inability to properly play Kantai Collection on Android devices, the largest competitor to Windows tablet devices in Japan. Cultural trends and industry reception. Interest in Kantai Collection has significantly risen over the months following its release, to the point where it has often been compared with the fandom of Touhou Project as an emerging viral fandom. There has been a large increase in online activity and fan-created material relating to the game, such as fan-made artworks, doujinshi and other derivative content. As of April 2014, there are over 150,000 different artworks on Pixiv tagged with Kanka created by 38,000 individual artists, and Kanka-related videos on Nikoniko were watched 69.7 million times. During Comiket 85, there were 1,136 Darjin circles producing works for Kantai Collection, placing third behind Toho Project and Kuriko's Basketball, and ahead of the Idolmaster and Vocaloid. This is a significant increase over the previous Comiket 84 event, which only had just over 100 circles with Kantai Collection works. Darjin material relating to the game have also gained traction overseas. Kangal-exclusive Darjin events have been held in Shanghai on February 22, 2014, and Taipei on March 29, 2014. On December 12, 2013, Twitter officially released the top hashtags of 2013. ePermilo was the most used hashtag among Japanese Twitter users. The game was also the 8th most searched term within Japan on Google in 2013. On December 30, 2013, GameSpark named Kantai Collection as the online game category title for its Game of the Year Awards of 2013, ahead of runners-up League of Legends, World of Tanks and Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn. A survey of 151 different prominent Japanese game developers conducted by 4Gamer asked what each developer considered to be the best game of 2013. 9 of these developers selected Kantai Collection. Among these developers, Naoki Yoshida of Square Enix, who produced and directed Final Fantasy XIV, A Realm Reborn, stated that Kantai Collection is Japan's answer to World of Tanks, and that he was impressed by the business model. Meanwhile, Hatsune Miku, Project Diva director Seiji Hayashi of Sega referred to the game as innovative. Kantai Collection was named Rookie of the Year during the Web Money 2013 awards, as a new entrant to the games market. Financial reception and sales figures. Speaking at a symposium held by Kadokawa ASCII Research Institute on September 27, 2013, the chairman of the board of directors of Kadokawa Group Holdings, Tsutohiko Kadokawa, stated that despite the game's popularity, Kantai Collection is nearly unprofitable for the company, in part due to the game being funded by various company partnerships. Kadokawa's stock price rose by 1,000 yen within June 2013, following the initial rise of the game. It is expected that Kadokawa will need to rely on sales of intellectual property media works such as books and manga in order to raise profits. Kadokawa Games president Yoshimi Yasuda affirms that the free-to-play business model of the game will not change despite reports of a lack of revenue gain. Tsukiji Toshihiko's light novel Kantai Collection, Kadara, setting sail. Sold 16,624 copies within its first week of release, placing 11th place within the Oricon book ranking charts. Also debuting the same week were the Sasebo Naval District Compilation Volume 1 and Meizoru Naval District Compilation Volume 1 comic anthologies, which sold 59,552 copies and 58,110 copies respectively. In mid-November 2013, Yokosuka Naval District Compilation Volume 1 sold 48,909 copies during its first week, placing 10th place among all comic sales. The first manga volume of Fubiki, Gambara Mesu, sold 28,324 copies within its first week in December 2013. The Kanka White Paper official book published by Kadokawa placed third place overall within the Oricon book charts during its debut week in October 2013, selling 46,039 copies. Political commentary. An editorial within the South Korean Hankook Ilbo on November 4, 2013 accuses that the strong popularity of the game is due to a conservative political shift amongst young people in Japan following long-term economic recession and political instability, and that the game majestifies the wartime Imperial Japanese Navy. Addressing the Hankook Ilbo allegation, Aki Akimoto writing for the Japan Times disagrees with the idea that the game's design deliberately facilitates any political shift, and argues that the 1970s anime series Space Battleship Yamato was subject to similar criticisms despite having little effect on domestic politics. References. External links, main site at DMM, Kanka at Kadokawa Games, Kanka staff on Twitter, Kanka manga at Famitsu Comic Clear, official Vitagame website, official anime website, Kanka Tabletop RPG website.